Hey guys, so the challenge is I would like you to make a column of ellipses going straight up and down. That's what we call a column. I'm going to show you in this video how to do a row, right, which is going from left to right. And we're not going to create each ellipse individually because that's just tedious. For a small 400 by 400 canvas, you could possibly do that. That wouldn't be a problem. But when you're thinking about big term projects, it's not feasible. So what we're going to use is a for loop. And you know, when you do a for loop, you have three parameters, right? The things that we put in here, the three check things, we call those parameters. So what we're going to do is I'm going to use the variable I for iteration. That's standard throughout all of computer science. I'm going to use the variable I. So I want the first part of the for loop is your variable, your initial variable. So I want I to equal, let's say, 0. And don't forget, in P5, this is one of the few times where you want to use semicolons. Okay, so for I equals 0, so we're starting off when I is equal to 0. And I want to do this, I don't know, I'm just going to say while I is less than 10. You know, I'm just choosing an amount. I'm not exactly sure. We'll fix that soon. And what I want to do is increment that I. So I'm going to say I is equal to I plus 1. So every time this loop runs, it's going to increase I. And I'm going to put in my chunk of code. You see how, like, when I click this one, it highlights that. I just close that bracket. All of my code is going to go inside of this for loop now. So anything I type in here will run given this criteria. And just to show you, let's do a console.log. Oh, you can't see the console.log. Let me see if I could. Okay, so let's do a console.log of I. So I just want to show what I is. What do you think is going to show up in the console? Well, let's see. You can see it's the numbers, and it keeps going because this whole program is one gigantic loop. But for now, you can see that it just goes from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, I'm sorry, it starts at 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then it starts again at 0. You may not be able to see all the numbers because I had to raise that up, right? But it starts at 0 and it just keeps looping. So that was I just did that just for us. That's a good debugging tool. If you want to see what a variable is at any time, you could just console.log it and you'll be able to see it. So let's stop that. Let's go ahead and create an ellipse then. Now, if I create an ellipse, I don't know. Let's just say I want to create my ellipse. The starting point is 10, 10. And I want to make it a nice circle, so I'm only going to give it one variable for a radius. Let's say it's 20. What do you think is going to happen? Well, this for loop is going to run 10 times, but it's going to draw the same ellipse. Whoops. I forgot the P. Right, when it says unquote reference error, usually that's and it tells you ellipse is not defined. When it gives you this type of error, usually it's a spelling mistake. But okay, so you see how thick that looks? That's because it's drawing an ellipse 10 times on top of itself. So the border kind of looks a little bit thicker. Let's make this a little bit bigger just so that we could see it. Let's do 50. All right, and still, it's not exactly helping us here. So what could we do? I want to use one for loop, and I want to make this ellipse appear multiple times in a row. What we could do is use a variable and change the variable every time the loop is going. Now, the good thing with a for loop is that we're already using a variable that changes, I. We know that I changes. When we did it in the log, we saw that I was 0 at one point, it was 1 at one point, it was 2 at the next loop, 3 in the next iteration, 4 in the next iteration. It just keeps changing. So let's see, what would happen? Remember, this is my x value, that's my y value. What would happen if I changed my x value to I? So it's going to create an ellipse at 0, 10. That's the first loop. Then when it gets to the end of the loop, it has to check to see if I is less than 10. But it is, because I is 0 at this point. So it's going to loop it again, this time incrementing I to 1. Because 0 plus 1 is 1. So now it's going to create an ellipse at 110. And then it's going to loop it again, and this time at 210, and loop it again at 310, loop it again at 410. So let's see what that actually looks like. You can barely see any difference there. I'm sure if I made the radius smaller, let's make the radius actually 5, and maybe we could see it. Yeah, you can see like it drags a little bit, right? Let's go ahead and put that radius back to 50. So what could I do? What could I do to make it spread apart a little bit more? Let's see. Could I put I plus 10? No, that would just shift it a little bit. But what you could do, and this is a really helpful tool, is using multiplication. Let's multiply and see. Now we can see it's kind of spreading further apart, right? What about if we did 20? Now it's getting there. What about 30? What number do you think we should put? Let's try the actual diameter. Because remember, 0 times 50 is 0. Then 1 times 50 is 50. 2 times 50 is 100. It's gonna make it 50 apart every time. Let's see how that works. Now you can see. I'm sorry, I called this a radius before, but that's a diameter. So it's incrementing by the diameter. Let's go ahead and neaten this up. Let's make this ellipse, the first ellipse, show nicely on the screen. So let's do one. If the diameter of this is 50, we want to make sure it starts at 50, 50. So let's go ahead and make this one 50. And let's just see what that one change looks like. Oh, maybe I could, okay, for this one we could do the radius, because half of it will show. If I made this 0, you'll see exactly half of it will show. Half of the ellipse shows because this is 0 on the y-axis. So we need the extra piece of the radius here to show, which is just 25. So let's do that. And you can see that the full ellipse shows. Let's do 26 because it's missing a pixel up there. Yeah, there we go. That's a lot better. And now let's shift it this way. Now again, this is showing. I need to shift it 25 that way because this is the dead center of this ellipse, and you see the 25 radius. You see the whole thing. So I'm just going to add 25. That shifts the whole thing over 25. And there we go. And we're making 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ellipses. Now, if we're making 8 ellipses, and this thing is going until 10, sorry, because remember it's starting at 0. So yes, I is 9, but it's doing it 10 times. Then technically, I should be able to do it up until 7, right? 7 will be my eighth ellipse. And let's see. Oh, let's change that. 8. This is my 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh yes, that's right. It's less than 8. Okay. So there we go. No need to make the computer to work extra. No need, because if we had less than 10, it's going to make more ellipses back here that you just can't see. Now, look at this. I'm going to make this 800. And I want you to see... Okay, my computer is actually really fast, but if I made this 8,000 or 8 million or something like that, I would see the same picture, but it will take my computer a lot longer to actually produce the same product. All right, so don't make your computer work more than that. You want to be extremely efficient as you can be. And just as an extra challenge, what do you think I could do to make this be halfway? Well, I know that the height of my canvas is 400. So what is 400 divided by 2? 200. But I'm going to add this extra 25 because that's the radius, I think. Nope, I'm going to just erase that 25. Sometimes it's okay to just play around with it. Only when you're not getting what you want, you should think about it a little bit deeper. Otherwise, you could just play with it and see a pattern and just work with it from there. All right, so just remember the challenge. I created a column, a row here. I want you to create a column, preferably in the middle, but it's not part of the project. Okay, see ya.